Tonight we're heading to Colorado, right into the heart of Rocky Mountain National Park. Towering peaks, glacial lakes, alpine meadows, it's the kind of place that looks like it belongs on a postcard. But if you hang around long enough, after the tourists leave, after the light fades, and when the wind starts whispering through the trees, this place feels different. Heavier, quieter, like it's holding its breath. Because Rocky Mountain National Park? Yeah, it's haunted. Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine-chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forests to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. My name is Elise, and I'm your host. It is July 2nd, and I am pre-recording this all the way back in mid-June. I hope to next week have like a updated episode on my experiences and travels with taking my mom and her friend all around the state. But for now, I don't have anything to update as I've just recorded 2 other episodes back to back to back. Summer can be so busy. June is so busy for me, and July is a lot less. So I'm looking forward to going on a little bit more leisurely adventures in July. I have never been to Rocky Mountain National Park, even though I lived in Colorado for a year. It was just kind of far from where I was staying, and it was winter, and so that's really a park like all the other Pacific Northwest parks and other parks like that you really have to go in the summer because of all of the snowpack. I lived on the Western Slope during a travel speech therapy contract, and so you can imagine if I was living out. Actually, I'll just tell you, I lived in Delta, Colorado for a year. And if you're familiar with the Western Slope, it's like between Montrose and Grand Junction, or Montrose, some people say that. So yeah, I lived there. It was Rocky Mountain National Park was kind of far away. I did do a lot of hiking and like Telluride area in the San Juans, but I didn't make my way east to Denver or Rocky Mountain National Park. So I really don't have a ton to say about this national park except for, well, we're going to cover it today because it is on the list for being haunted. But first, of course, we're going to start with our negative reviews. Our first review says, was not impressed with the park at all. The views were wonderful. We drove a long way to get to the park. You have to have a timed entry to get in and a special one for the Bear Lake Road. We booked it ahead of time. Getting into the park was a long wait. We were 30 minutes early because our trailhead was 25 minutes from the park entrance. They made us wait 30 minutes to get back in the long line to enter the park. The trail was pretty, but we could not finish due to having a baby with us, and the snow made it too dangerous. When we then went to a trail outside the national forest, and it was prettier, we didn't have to go through that mess. We will never go back to the national forest. If we ever visit Colorado again, we will hike outside the national forest. I don't know. I think this person might be confused because it said that they hiked in the national forest and then they wouldn't go back. And one thing about kids, it's really a lot of the things that people try to do outdoors with them are not super child friendly. And yeah, hiking in snow with snowpack, and I'm sure they didn't have the right gear. Yeah, that is dangerous. So I know a lot of people do outdoors hiking activities with their kids, and I think it's great. I have a really good friend who is constantly outside with her toddler. It's so good for the kids and it's good for you, but taking them to a treacherous trail is probably not the best idea. So, another negative review. Quote, "This national park is overrated and overcrowded, with very small parking lots that makes the experience stressful. The hiking trails are very short, and the infrastructure is poorly maintained and in bad condition." Can't really speak to that because I haven't been, but there were a lot of negative reviews, and most of them were only about the timed entry. They have to do timed entry because these places are becoming so popular that they have to limit on how many people go in per day. It's not that the government doesn't want you to visit the national parks. It's that you don't want to have too many people there because then it's a safety issue. I think the timed entries could be run a little bit smoother, but honestly, I have never had a bad experience because guess what? I use the internet and I go online and I Google and I go to the national parks website and everything's on there that you need to get your timed entry and be prepared. So that's just a word of advice. Every single national park has their own website. You can visit it and learn all about how to have the best time instead of just showing up and expecting it to all work out. Planning, preparing, it's a lot when you're visiting national parks. And if you want to skip all of that, the national forests are absolutely amazing. Don't require entrance fees. There aren't long lines of cars to get in. And they are so beautiful. And the hikes that are there and the sites that are there are just as pretty as they are in a national park. So, word of the wise, national forests are where it's at. So, let's jump into it today. Rocky Mountain National Park is located approximately 55 miles northwest of Denver in north central Colorado, within the Front Range of the Rocky Mountains. The park is situated between the towns of Estes Park to the east and Grand Lake to the west. The main features of the park include mountains, alpine lakes, and a wide variety of wildlife within various climates and environments. So, in this national park, there are wooded forests all the way to mountain tundra. The Rocky Mountain National Park Act was signed by President Woodrow Wilson on January 26, 1915, which established the park boundaries and protected the area for future generations. In 2023, 4.1 million recreational visitors entered the park. The park is one of the most visited in the national park system, ranking as the third most visited national park in 2015. In 2019, the park saw record attendance yet again with 4.6 million visitors, which was a 44% increase since 2012. National forest lands surround the park on all sides, including the Roosevelt National Forest to the north and east, the Route National Forest to the north and west, the Arapahoe National Forest to the west and south, and the Indian Peaks Wilderness located directly south of the park. The history of the park began when Paleo Indians traveled a route near what is now Trail Ridge Road to hunt and forage for food. Ute and Arapahoe people subsequently hunted and camped in the area. In 1820, the Long Expedition, led by Stephen H. Long, for whom Long's Peak was named, approached the Rockies via the Platte River. Settlers began arriving in the mid-1800s, which displaced the indigenous groups by 1878. Rocky Mountain National Park encompasses over 260,000 acres, with an additional 253,000 acres of the U.S. Forest Service wilderness that adjoins the park boundaries. The Continental Divide runs north to south through the center of the park, with rivers and streams on the western side of the divide flowing towards the Pacific Ocean, while those on the eastern side flow towards the Atlantic. The headwaters of the Colorado River are located in the park's northwestern region. The park contains approximately 450 miles of rivers and streams, 350 miles of trails, and 150 lakes. Fun fact for you today, Rocky Mountain National Park is one of the highest national parks in the nation, with elevations from 7,860 feet to 14,259 feet. There are 60 mountains that peak over 12,000 feet, and all of those provide beautiful, high scenic vistas. Rocky Mountain National Park has a subarctic climate with cool summers and year round precipitation. Higher elevations within the park may receive twice as much precipitation as lower elevation areas, generally in the form of deep winter snowfall. Arctic conditions are prevalent during the winter, with sudden blizzards, high winds, and deep snowpack. High country overnight trips require gear suitable for -35 Fahrenheit or below. The Rockies have a lot of different animals, and some of those that live in Rocky Mountain National Park include snowshoe hares, coyotes, cougars, beavers, mule deer, moose, bighorn sheep, black bears, and Rocky Mountain elk. During the fall, visitors often flock to the park to witness the elk rut. 4 trout species inhabit the park waters, and those include rainbow, brook, cutthroat, and German brown trout. So, let's talk spooky, creepy. One thing I wanted to mention here is that there have been a lot of notable incidents, including accidental deaths due to falls from steep cliffs. And that happens a lot in this park. According to data from the National Park Service, there have been 77 fatalities at the park between 2007 and 2024, the majority of which were from accidental falls while hiking or climbing. So, why does everyone think that Rocky Mountain National Park is haunted? Well, for starters, visitors have reported hearing disembodied voices along remote trails. Rangers have shared stories of shadowy figures that vanish behind trees and don't leave footprints. There's talk of strange lights dancing in the forests at night. And then there's the historic Stanley Hotel, right outside the park boundary, that inspired Stephen King's The Shining. And this is said to be this huge hotel that cast its own long shadow over the valley. In this episode, we're trading the scenic overlook for something a little darker: ghost sightings, whispered warnings, unsolved deaths, and the lingering sense that in this park, not everything that walks the trails are alive. So grab your flashlight, zip up your sleeping bag, and don't wander off after dark. We're heading into the haunted high country of Rocky Mountain National Park. So let's start with the blue mist. Miner Bill came to Estes in 1883. He was known around town to have some strange tendencies and spent about a year in an insane asylum. After his stay in the asylum, he was released and he set to prospecting in the Horseshoe Park area, which is now Rocky Mountain National Park. He filed 2 mining claims and began constructing trails for access to these mines. Oftentimes, he would go into town for supplies and had a habit of talking to himself and of the, quote, divine. He was scared of something he liked to call the blue mist. Now, according to Bill, on cloudy nights near his cabin, a being would manifest and a blue mist would appear in the trees. It would always leave 3-toed claw marks in the snow and on the trees around the cabin. Animals were often found dead with nothing left but bones, and Bill believed that there was a connection. Bill went missing and was eventually found dead with nothing left but bones, along with 3-toed animal tracks surrounding him. Now, I love a good minor ghost story, and part of me would believe that maybe Bill was schizophrenic or, I don't know, some other mental illness. I mean, he did spend a year in an insane asylum, but the fact that there was a connection between his disappearance and death and what he had spoken of really is so creepy. I didn't find much about him online except for this little story, but blue mist and something like completely devouring his animals is kind of scary. Next, we have the haunting at the Bald Pate Inn. In 1911, Gordon and Ethel Mace built a classic log cabin for themselves and several smaller tourist cabins to accompany it. In 1917, they built a larger lodging facility, which then became the Bald Pate Inn, named from a fictional inn in a mystery novel. Regulars were given keys to their own buildings, just like in the novel. This tradition was practiced until World War I, when the cost of metal rose so steeply that they could no longer afford to give away any keys. So guests started bringing keys with them to leave at the inn, starting the famous key room. Word on the street is that today, both Ethel and Gordon continue to stay at their old inn. Ethel has been spotted in her rocker, reading the Bible or spilling drinks, while Gordon has been sighted roaming the hallways and enforcing the no smoking rule by smashing guest cigarettes or stealing the pack altogether. The Bald Pate Inn is now the Seven Keys Lodge. So a little haunted lodge in the Rockies. I would stay there, not because it's haunted, but because it just seems like a fun experience. And I love that they kept sort of the history about it and, they renamed it, but it still has that historic element to it by being called the Seven Keys Lodge. So that's pretty fun. Let's talk about the Stanley. I'm sure you are well aware what the Stanley Hotel is, but in case you aren't, it's a historic 140-room colonial revival hotel that's located in Estes Park, and it's one of the oldest hotels still standing in Colorado. It's pretty luxurious from what I've heard. I've never been, but would love to go because it offers mountain views and a plethora of frightening folklore since it first opened its doors on July 4th, 1909. This is the hotel that inspired Stephen King to write The Shining. It looks kind of creepy and it's huge. So even creepier, it's like this giant sprawling hotel in the mountains and it seems so beautiful. It's been attracting its fair share of both ghost hunters and casual lovers of the paranormal. But the question remains, how much of the Stanley's reputation is fact and how much of it is fiction? So here are a few facts about the Stanley. It was the inspiration for Stephen King's The Shining. It was opened by the inventor Freeland Oscar Stanley. And once a gas explosion once destroyed a large section of the hotel. There was a hedge maze and a remodeled bar that were added in honor of The Shining. So, the movie had them and the real hotel didn't. But after the movie, they added them in honor of that movie. After years of close study, bolstered by the success of Stephen King's The Shining, the Stanley Hotel has become not only the most haunted hotel in America, but the most documented, boasting everything from full-body apparitions and strange sounds to paranormal pranks that have left more than one guest making a hasty retreat from the building. One hotspot that has caught the attention of psychic mediums worldwide is the hotel's main staircase. It's an impressive piece of classical architecture that for many years has been affectionately referred to as the Vortex. This stairway, which connects the hotel lobby to the second floor suites, is believed to be some kind of paranormal portal, a tunnel of spiritual energy that is often cited as the reason why so many ghosts and lost spirits continue to hang around the Stanley Hotel. And it's not just psychic mediums that have experiences. Many guests and employees of the hotel have witnessed weird and creepy things. Most recently, a young girl was photographed on the stairs by a guest, despite no little girl being present at the time. The picture was so clear and so persuasive, it even made national news. You can look this up for yourself as well. The Stanley may have its fair share of hauntings, but they all pale in comparison to the hotel's most notorious and coveted hotspot, Room 217. Why is room 217 so haunted? Well, during the early years of the hotel, it was the location of a truly horrific accident, one that would prove an early indicator of the sordid history that would follow the Stanley for the rest of its days. Late one night, as a Colorado snowstorm was fast approaching, the head housekeeper, Mrs. Elizabeth Wilson, was making her rounds. She was lighting lanterns throughout the hotel in case of a power outage. Unfortunately, she didn't know and couldn't have known was that there was a leak on the second floor, slowly filling the entire wing with flammable gas. As she entered room 217, lighting a match beneath a lamp, an explosion rocked the hotel, destroying the room, the hall, and the floor beneath it, dropping her down into the dining room below. Amazingly, no one was killed, not even Miss Wilson, who sustained little more than 2 broken ankles and a story that she would tell until her dying day. Still, the damage was done and the legend was starting to unfold. She lived to be 90 and passed away in her Estes Park home, but many still say that she's clinging to that room that caused her and the hotel so much trauma. Now let's head out to the trails. Bear Lake is a sparkling gem cradled in the heart of the Rocky Mountain National Park, and it's really a serene sight by day. But as night falls, tales of ghostly apparitions abound. The Bear Lake Road corridor offers a beautiful gateway to breathtaking scenic views, a diverse range of hiking trails, exceptional wildlife observation opportunities, and camping sites. This is why it stands as one of the most frequented sections in the Rocky Mountain National Park, and it's said to be haunted. Another haunted trail is Fern Lake Trail. Now, Fern Lake Trail offers hikers a fascinating journey through lush forests and past serene lakes. However, the real intrigue begins when the mist rolls in. Local folklore speaks of a spectral mist that occasionally envelops Fern Lake, shrouding it in like an eerie haze. Constructed and primarily maintained by lodge keepers and local advocates for tourism in the early 1900s, the Fern Lake Trail played a crucial role in the early development of park tourism. It traces the course of the Big Thompson River, leading hikers to the pool while offering a blend of forested sections and occasional open areas with picturesque views of the Big Thompson Valley. It sounds like this might be in the same area where the blue mist was often seen, way back in the 1800s. The last haunted trail we're going to discuss today is the Homestead Meadows hike, and it's been described as a portal to the past because when you hike on this, you get a very deep dive into history. Unlike typical ghost towns, this site tells the unique story of 8 homesteads that settled on the land between 1889 and 1923. As visitors traverse the trail, eerie remnants of long abandoned homesteads, dilapidated cabins, and rusty equipment whisper tales from the past. Amid the scenic Rocky Mountains, this hike offers history, adventure, and, of course, a touch of spookiness. It looks like it's such a cool hike, and yeah, seeing a ghost town would kind of creep you out on a trail, or at least it would me. Now, there are also the Ute spirits. This park is said to be haunted by the Ute people, which were the land's early indigenous inhabitants. According to a legend, a group of Utes camped near Grand Lake when they were unexpectedly attacked by a rival tribe, the Arapahoes. The women and children sought to escape on a canoe during the ambush. Tragically, a flurry of wind caused the boat to capsize, drowning everyone on board. The Utes subsequently avoided the lake entirely, citing it as a cursed place. Today, it's rumored that misty mornings reveal the spirits of the lost Ute women and children, calling onlookers to join them in the lake. I've heard that story before. It's really, really sad, but I wouldn't be surprised if this did actually happen. And honestly, I think that we, when I say we, I mean everyone, should listen to Indigenous legends and lore because I think there's always a grain of truth to those stories. And lastly, we have a cryptid that supposedly resided in the national park for a very long time. This cryptid I've never heard of, but it's called the slide rock bolter. It was first seen by lumberjacks in the 19th century. And the physical traits are it looks like a massive whale like creature with camouflage skin and a dolphin like tail. It eats humans, animals, rocks, trees, and basically anything that gets in its way. So apparently, this cryptid may be lying in wait on a mountainside, eagerly anticipating an unfortunate soul who might wander by on the path below. So it's basically like a giant whale rock thing, and it hides on the sides of mountains. And as soon as hikers or tourists walk by in the valleys below, the creature releases its grip on the mountainside and comes sliding down the mountain, mouth open wide, devouring everything in its path. As legend has it, a park ranger responsible for maintaining a swath of land in the San Juan Mountains took it upon himself to foil this beast, planting a fake torus filled with explosives in a valley beneath Lizard Head, which is a 13,119-foot summit. Like clockwork, the slide bolter slid down the mountain, swallowing the trap before exploding. The blast was allegedly powerful enough to level a large portion of the surrounding area, including half of the town of Rico, and that was the end of the slide bolter, or at least one of the Centennial States slide bolters. The official head count of this creature remains unknown. I wanted to add that in because I just thought that was kind of fun. I never heard of it, and you probably haven't either, but that's kind of a fun cryptid. It's not as scary to me. But if it were like indigenous legend, that would probably be their explanation for earthquakes, landslides, things like that. The Rockies are ancient, older than memory, carved by ice, weathered by time, and filled with stories that don't always make it onto the trail maps. Whether it's the echo of footsteps on an empty trail, the chill you feel in your tent at 2 a.m., or that unshakable sense that something or someone is watching from the trees, it's clear Rocky Mountain National Park isn't just a place of beauty, it's a place of mystery. Maybe these are just legends born in thin air and long hikes. Or maybe, just maybe, this park holds on to more than just echoes. Thanks for joining me out here in the shadows. If you've got a haunted tale from the Rockies or anywhere else in the wilderness, I want to hear it. Drop me a line, and maybe your story will be on my next episode. As always, recreate responsibly, and remember, sometimes the great outdoors aren't always great. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, a quick review helps us know what you love about the show. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.